Alright, welcome back. You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet. The Waqf Amendment Bill will be brought in the Rajya Sabha after heated debate in the Lok Sabha. Home Minister Amit Shah accused the opposition of dividing the country and misleading the Muslim community. He has also clarified that there will be no interference in the Muslim community and that laws of the country will have to be accepted by the opposition and those protesting. The Congress and the opposition have objected the law on the rule of only allowing those practicing Islam for 5 years and inclusion of non-Islamic members on the board as well. Well, we'll talk about this with our panelists, but first up we have Syed Shahnawaz Hussain, former member of Parliament Lok Sabha, who's joining us on the broadcast as well. Hussain साहब, हमसे बातचीत करने के लिए आपका बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया। सबसे पहला सवाल ये है सर कि क्या सामान्य मुसलमान जो ऑर्डिनरी मुस्लिम हैं उनकी ज़िंदगी में इस अमेंडमेंट के बाद, इस कानून के बदलाव के बाद कोई फ़र्क आने वाला है?
देखिए, जो वक्फ अमेंडमेंट एक्ट है ये बेहतरीन फैसला है मोदी गवर्नमेंट का। वक्फ का मतलब होता है कि जो लोग अपने परिवार का हक मार के अपने बच्चों को प्रॉपर्टी नहीं दे के अपनी प्रॉपर्टी वक्फ कर देते हैं गरीबों के लिए, यतीमों के लिए, बेवा के लिए, विधवा के लिए। लेकिन आज उसका उपयोग क्या हो रहा है? उसका उपयोग ये मुतवल्ली खा रहे हैं पैसा। वो दुकानें बना ले रहे हैं, पगड़ी ले रहे हैं, किराया ले रहे हैं, मोटे मोटे होते जा रहे हैं। गरीब मुसलमान को तो कुछ नहीं मिल रहा। इसमें महिलाओं को भी हक दिया गया है, इसमें पसमानदा मुस्लिम को भी मेंबर बनाना चाहिए, ये भी दिया गया जो मेजॉरिटी कम्युनिटी है मुस्लिम समाज में। और अगर इसमें नॉन मुस्लिम मेंबर आ गए उस पर भी एतराज़ हो रहा है। अरे डीएम हो या सीएम हो या पीएम हो, सब तो नॉन मुस्लिम ही ज़्यादा होते हैं। तो क्या आप देश में नहीं रहते हैं? कहेंगे कि नहीं मुस्लिम पीएम होगा? कोई खिलाफत का ज़माना है क्या? किस तरह की भाषा बोली जा रही है? ये पूरी तरह गलत है, निराधार है कि वक्फ अमेंडमेंट एक्ट से किसी की ज़मीन छीनी जाएगी। न इससे एक दरगाह छीनेगी, न कब्रिस्तान, न मज़ार, न खानका। मुस्लिम धार्मिक मामले में इसमें दखल देने का कोई इरादा
सर, एक ये भी बात की चर्चा हो रही है कि वक्फ की आड़ में काफ़ी लोगों ने गैर कानूनी कब्ज़ा किया हुआ है काफ़ी जगहों पर और इसी वजह से इसके खिलाफ इतना ऑपोजिशन है। आपका क्या कहना है?
नहीं, जो लोग वक्फ की जायदाद पर नाजायज कब्जा किए बैठे हैं उनको दिक्कत हो रही है। और वही लोग हैं जो बड़े बड़े मुस्लिम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में हैं। सबका बैकग्राउंड चेक कीजिए तो सबके पास बड़ी बड़ी जायदाद है वक्फ की, उसके मतवल्ली बने हुए हैं, उनको दिक्कत होगी। ये ज़रूर है कि वक्फ जो किसी पर भी दावा कर देता था कि पार्लियामेंट हमारी है तो एयरपोर्ट हमारा है, वो दावा नहीं कर पाएगा। सरकारी संपत्ति पर दावे का अधिकार वक्फ बोर्ड को नहीं होगा। बाकी तो चीज़ें और अच्छी हो जाएंगी। और जहाँ तक लोग कहा जा रहा है कि भाई कलेक्टर को क्यों अधिकार दिया जा रहा है, तो कलेक्टर तो अगर आपके घर की भी ज़मीन हो और उसका भी डिस्प्यूट हल करना हो, जो मौलवी साहब लोग विरोध कर रहे हैं उनके भी ज़मीन को तो कलेक्टर के यहाँ जाना होता है ना। तो आपकी ज़मीन के लिए कलेक्टर के यहाँ जाएंगे, अब वक्फ बोर्ड के ज़मीन के लिए अगर फैसला कलेक्टर करेगा तब।
हुसैन साहब, मुस्लिम समुदाय ने भी संशोधन को समर्थन दिया है। क्या आप मानते हैं कि ये एक तरह से प्रधानमंत्री मोदी की भी जीत है मुस्लिम समुदाय को एक तरह से अपनी तरफ करने में?
प्रधानमंत्री तो मुस्लिम समाज के दिल में बसते ही हैं। हर महीने 5 किलो अनाज देते हैं, भेदभाव नहीं करते, गैस सिलेंडर देते हैं, जेब में अकाउंट में पैसा देते हैं। प्रधानमंत्री तो सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबके विश्वास के रास्ते पे चल रहे हैं, सबको लेकर चल रहे हैं। वक्फ एक्ट भी लाए हैं तो गरीब मुसलमान को इसमें बहुत खुशी है, इसलिए जश्न हो रहा है। लेकिन हमारे जो विरोधी हैं वो बीजेपी के बारे में राय बनाते हैं, कहते हैं बीजेपी ऐसी है, ऐसी है। ऐसा नहीं, बीजेपी तो सबकी।
सर, इस अमेंडमेंट को लेकर एक राजनीतिक बवाल पैदा हुआ है, एक सियासी बवाल पैदा हुआ है। आपको लगता है कि ये सिर्फ एक पॉलिटिक्स का हिस्सा है और ज़मीनी तौर पर मुसलमान इस अमेंडमेंट के बाद फ़ायदे में ही रहेगा?
कांग्रेस और जो सो कॉल्ड सेक्युलर पार्टियां हैं उनके पास कोई एजेंडा नहीं है। जो बिल लेकर सरकार आएगी उसका विरोध करना। विरोधी दल का मतलब विरोध करना, यही समझ लिया है। उनको सत्ता में रहना नहीं आता था, विपक्ष का रोल।
सर आपको क्या लगता है कि जो पहले वक्फ की एक स्थिति थी और जिस तरीके से उनकी शैली थी और अब जो होगी, इन दोनों में क्या अंतर होने वाला है?
ये बहुत बड़ा अंतर है कि जो वक्फ की जायदाद है उसका फ़ायदा मुस्लिम बेवाओं को होगा, यतीमों को होगा, मिस्कीन को होगा, बहुत गरीब लोगों को होगा, जिनको ज़रूरत होगी वो वक्फ की जायदाद से उनके लिए उपयोग होगा। और बहुत बड़ा जो माफियाओं के पास वक्फ की जायदाद है वो वापस होगी वक्फ बोर्ड में और वो गरीबों के लिए काम आएगा।
हुसैन साहब, हमसे बातचीत करने के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। All right, we continue talking about this with our guest. Joining us on the show at this point in time is Zeenat Shaukat Ali, Islamic scholar. Tahira Hassan, activist, is also joining us. Mr. Alok Mehta, editorial director of India News, with us on the program as well. Mr. Himanshu Bhatt, senior journalist, with us on the program as well. Nikhil Jain, political analyst, with us on the program. Also, Sumit Peer, senior political commentator, with us once again on the show. Mr. Ahmed Ayaz, political analyst, is with us on the show as well. Sabiha Ahmed, spokesperson for Impar, member of the UP State Sunni Central Waqf Board, is also joining us on the show. Thank you everyone for taking out the time and speaking with us. Nikhil, I'll begin with you. Well, since we have heard a number of things, or rather, a slew of commentary from the opposition as well in the parliament today, what is your take on this amendment when it comes to the Waqf Bill? Nikhil? Okay, Nikhil.
Sorry.
Nikhil, go on.
Vineet, am I audible?
Yeah, you are now. You are now, Nikhil, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. So, if you ask me the question, were reforms needed in the institution of Waqf and the existing Waqf Act? Yes. If you ask me the question, was there corruption in the way Waqf properties were being managed? Yes. But what the government has done right now is not bring in the sort of progressive or transparency inducing reforms or accountability inducing reforms as were needed, but they're essentially showcasing their philosophy that how they look at every single piece of asset in the country as some sort of an asset line in a balance sheet of a corporate company, how everything is all about revenue, and how they, sort of blur the nuances and things. See, we have to understand that there is no single Waqf board. Every state has a different Waqf board. Every state's Waqf board is an institution and part of the state government. It is an institution of the state. It's not some private or religious or Muslim body. It's a state government department essentially. And Waqf boards manage endowments that were made by the way of the process of Waqf for various purposes. Somebody could have made an endowment to run a mosque, somebody for a school, for an orphanage, somebody could have just given away their land and said that use the revenue from the land for XYZ purpose. And the Waqf board are essentially administrative trust bodies that manage and oversee all of this. Of course, there was corruption across political spectrums. You would see corruption in BJP states and Congress states. The reforms and accountability was needed. But what the BJP is now trying to do is trying to convolute the entire discussion by saying that Waqf is the third largest landowner in the country. No, there is no single Waqf that is the third largest landowner. Yes, reforms were needed, but you're trying to convolute everything that is going in the process. And I really don't understand why was there a need to include non-Muslims into the administration of Waqf boards when we don't see any similar thing with the Sikh Gurdwara Prabandhak committees, which also manage Gurdwara, schools, hospitals, and other charitable institutions that are being done by the Sikhs. I also don't understand why was there a need to say that you have to be a practicing Muslim for 5 years in order to make an endowment under the Waqf. It is my property. I may want to make an endowment right away without ever changing my religion. Why does the government have to get in the way of that? And also the exasperated and enhanced powers of the collector in this. Why did you need to remove the survey commissioner under the Waqf board, who was a government officer, but replace him with a collector who is more amenable to political pressures? Why are you talking about revenue? If I've given my property in Waqf saying that there should be an orphanage run on this, and whatever revenue is generated from the property, it simply goes into this orphanage and not to some other sort of state level or central level fund, then the balance sheet item will show that this property is not making any revenue, but that's not the case. It is serving the purpose for which the Waqf was made, but that's not how the BJP is looking at it. Also, the fact that they have made this unified Waqf management concept, that is essentially sort of trying to centralize all the assets under the Waqf board, and God knows what they're going to do with those assets. This entire confusion that the BJP is trying to create, that is what creates a lot of fears in the minds of people, that they are essentially trying to engage in land grab. And lastly, one more thing, that under this provision, they say that under this new amendment, they say that any government land cannot be Waqf. Now, the problem is that in a lot of cases, the government stakes claim on land that belongs to somebody else. It may belong to a private individual, to a Waqf, to some other government department. How do you straight away automatically say that any place where there is a claim of the government that cannot be with the Waqf, it can and cannot be? Let the courts decide on that. This kind of sort of blanket opposition against the concept of Waqf, I really do not get it.
Okay.
At the end of the day,
All
they
right,
are endowment trust loans.
Okay, point taken. Mr. Mehta, how would you respond to what Nikhil has said? Of course, he's talking about the courts here, but the fact of the matter is that when it came to disputes, there was a point where the buck stopped, and that was with the Waqf tribunal. You could not take some of these decisions to court as well, is what I understand from whatever I have read. Mr. Mehta, how would you look at these amendments, and is the government being in any way unfair to the concept of making this body more transparent?
If you remember, everybody, I think our guests also remember, how this Waqf Bill came in the period of the Dr. Manmohan Singh Congress Party regime. Because, just to please the minority community, and pleasing means only give some few people, 100 or 200 people, they are the owner of the all lands, the properties of the Waqf. And the state is very right, Mr. Nikhilji, telling about that this is the state governments. But where is the control? Who is controlling? Nobody can go to the judiciary because they said, no, you can't go to the judge. Only the Waqf board will decide. And if somebody's property is there, even the person will say, okay, I have donated this property to the Waqf. But the sister or the brother, if somebody in the family come, so no, my property, I was out of country, I was in Dubai or I was in America, and my property was donated just like this. So where they can challenge? Only the Waqf board will decide. At the same time, the Lalu Yadav, he was, I think Amit Shah ji also quoted today in the parliament, because Lalu Yadav himself, when the bill introduced at the time, this Waqf bill, and then he said, okay, in Patna, I was in Patna, I know, number of properties, they were acquired by the Waqf board, so-called, and they just is the private property like, and they are misusing it. They say illegally they occupied. Lalu Yadav, who is a very much supporter of the Congress party and other artist alliance, he was opposing at the time, and he says that there should be more strict punishment for those people who are just capturing this kind of land. So I think this amendment was very necessary. And to if you say, okay, it is a government body, then how you will say no other community should be there? Shia Muslim should be not there. Or even the woman, if they have some right in this council or something in management, why not when we have the new laws for the woman also, for the talaq, also the relief from talaq. So now even the Muslim woman come or any other woman will be also part of this system, because this purpose is for education, for health, for social welfare of the society. Waqf means donation. If somebody giving donation, want to donate the whole property, like Manohar Lal ji, the present minister, Union Cabinet Minister, he donated all his property to the either Prime Minister Relief Fund or for the other purpose, or library, his own house. So one can donate like this. But if you say, okay, somebody else property, I'm saying, okay, because this one is not in Delhi or is not in some other places, is out of country, and I say, okay, I donated to the Waqf board. These kind of irregularities were there. So I think it's a very historical moment. Then it will be regularized or legalized, and the judiciary will be the final authority. You can challenge the Prime Minister, you can challenge the Parliament decision, you can change even this amendment, but then you can't go against the Waqf board. Because the Supreme, after like a god, everybody is like a godfather. It's a godfather, or they are mafias. Because I think they are the criminals. They just occupied those lands, because it's not against the mosque, it's not against the dargah, against those properties, disputed property, government property, railway property. Even I think Vijuji mentioned about it, the parliament, new parliament house, land, Waqf board say, okay, this is the property of the Waqf, because the earlier days in Badshah Zafar period, this land was for the Waqf, is donated to the Waqf. These kind of argument, the Waqf board people, because they are behaving like a criminals, sorry to say.
All right.
And that's why we should stop this type of criminalization.
All right. Zina Chaukat Ali, Islamic scholar, also with us on the program. Zina ji, I hope you can hear me. Zina Chaukat Ali. Okay. All right. Sumit, let me come to you now. it is obviously very clear at this point in time that, there were, governance issues with the Waqf board which were outside the ambit, the purview of the Indian legal system. That in itself is something which should be troubling. That in itself should be an argument made for reform. Everything else that you see, all the bells and whistles which are being attached by the opposition at this point in time, when it comes to the Waqf Amendment Bill, do you think they hold ground?
Vinny, thanks for having me on your show. In fact, what opposition is trying to do, if I can be very candid with you, they are trying to hide their kukaram. They have been trying to hide their betrayal to the Hindus. They are trying to hide the policy of Muslim appeasement. They have been trying to hide how they have twisted the constitution of this country for the benefit of a handful of Muslims who were their, prodigy or whatever you want to call them, chamches. So the first thing is, I will highlight 10 or 12 points systematically and tell me if I'm wrong. Now, Waqf tribunal is the only tribunal in the country. If you look at industrial tribunal, if you look at NCLT, if you look at any of the tribunals, income tax tribunal is the only tribunal on Bharat Bhumi wherein you can't go to a high court or the Supreme Court because it's above high court, Supreme Court, constitution, everything. Koi appeal nahi hai. It is a law within its own self because you can, no, Nikhil, let me speak, Nikhil. I know you are an advocate here. We are not arguing as vakils. And this is not what you will say 13, 14A, 13B. So everybody knows that. Now, you can go to Waqf Tribunal, which is again final authority on that. Today, if there's a piece of land, imagine there's a piece of land next to me and Waqf board says this land is mine. The government of the day has to go to the Waqf Tribunal and appeal, my baap, meri zameen mujhe wapas kar do. Point number 3, there's a famous temple in India called Siddhivinayak Temple, which we all know. Now, as Waqf board temple belongs to them. So what should we do? We should pack our things from there. Now, there's another village and a temple in Tamil Nadu which is 1500 years old. Islam is 1400 years old, but that is a Waqf property. So what should we do? Leave the village, leave the temple? Mukesh Ambani's house is Waqf property. Where the West Bengal Assembly, that is Waqf property. Tomorrow, what Mehtaji was rightly saying, when the Indian Parliament can be the Waqf property, it can be anything. And if you look at a place of worship act, there's a ceiling, 40, 50, 60 years. You can't go beyond that. But in the case of Waqf, you can't even go to 600 years back. Around 600 years back, before the Britishers came, Mughals were in control, were ruling most of India. By that logic, tomorrow anybody can come. There's no ceiling to Waqf yet. Anybody can come, say, look, in 300 years back, this Nawab donated this piece to that Nawab, then we all are kiradars in our country. So we should all vacate our properties and wait for Waqf to claim. In fact, are we waiting for Waqf to claim? Shri Vaishno Devi ji, Tirupati Balaji, even for the Ram Mandir, you did a mistake. You should have declared it as a Waqf property. Then there was no need to even go to the Supreme Court. It could have been settled on its own. How does this Waqf, after the Congress ki mehermani, have the 4th highest land bank in the country? Railway runs rails, it has rail bank. Army saves the country, it has rail bank. How does Waqf have such a big lands? And what are they running? Hyperloops in that? I don't know what are they running in that. And why, as a citizen, if my property decides is mine, I don't have any remedy to go to the Supreme Court. I can't go to anywhere. I have to go to them and plead, bhai, meri property mujhe wapas de do. And when India was divided on religious line beneath, Muslims got Pakistan, right or wrong, I'm not getting into that, was done. Now, why you are creating a perpetual fair and perpetual system of Pakistan which continues in the country when Muslims have these rights, privileges and liberties, why Hindus can't have? Well, if you have 85% of the population, humne galti kar di kya? Why Sikhs don't have, why Yazidis don't have, why Jews don't have, why Jains don't have, why Parsis don't have? And if you talk of the Muslims are in danger or there's a minority fiasco or a psychosis, then Parsis are the least possible minority, subset choti minority in India, and they're the most prosperous in the whole of the India. So let's not get this all.
Okay.
So when you look at all the things put together, I mean, this was a betrayal which was done on Hindus and India. I think the Prime Minister Modi is trying to set the equation right. We all have one vote, so our right should be uniform and uniform across the board. How can a Muslim's right trample over my rights, and how can his religious freedom or his rights be superior to your and mine? I don't understand it. That's what this whole act is.
All right. Tahira ji, do you welcome this amendment in the Waqf law and the way it has been administered for a very, very long time? Even before this bill was introduced, there were always talks about how mismanaged it was, how it really did not represent, the issues with the minorities, the Muslim minority in our country. And why do you think that at a time like this, where even Muslims are rejoicing this amendment, there needs to be politicization?
No, it's not. Vinith, first I will clear that it's not that all Muslims are very happy with this amendments, first thing. Second thing you said, I agree, I always said there is a corruption in Waqf board. I said, and today again I said in all channels, wherever I was there as a panelist, why the government did not fix up the CBI inquiry? Why there was no accountability? You fix first accountability. What these amendments are going to, how they are going to curb or control the corruption? Tell me. How? Because you say it's not like that. The Waqf board can put the hand on any property, so no, this is mine. The parliament is mine. Falana is mine. How can it? The survey commissioner is appointed by state government. He do the survey. After that, he give the list of the property to state government. Then it is listed in the gadget of state government. You know, and all the members and officers are chairmen and all are appointed by the government only. It's not something in private domain. Everything in the hand of government. It's a you have changed the tribunal. Now it can go to court. I welcome it. Now DM will look after. Okay, fine. Survey commissioner was also appointed by government. Now DM is the government authority. So he will do the all survey and all. I want the corruption should be controlled. Thing is this, and if you are really interested to do something for the Pasmanda Musalman, then take the women and men from the Pasmanda society. Take from the oppressed class, because our people give these land in the name of the Allah to the Waqf board. It's not Waqf board property who are eating malai, nor mine, neither governments. It is their property. They gave it, you know, and gave it for upliftment of the oppressed and marginalized class, for maintenance of our widows, our divorcees, our orphan children, to educate them, and the shelter for the divorcee and the widow women, and to maintain the educational institution and dargah and masjids and graveyards. So if they are not doing these things, they are grabbing it. I mean, talking about the Waqf board, if their people are grabbing the land and eating all malai themselves, not getting to the beneficiaries, then why didn't you take the action? I'm not talking only about you, because 1976, this government, 1976, the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi wrote letter to all chief ministers that whatever land has been encroached of Waqf board by the government officers or private parties, vacate it or give them proper rent. So their revenue will be generated in that way. So why that has not been done? So, I mean, if there is will to do something for the oppressed and marginalized class, because I work for the marginalized women, I work on the grassroots, so I always stand with the grassroots women. You do it. I was in the triple talaq, against the triple talaq. I was the one who spoke like anything. I think I was known for that. I took the head on to the Muslim Personal Law Board also that time. The women were not so vocal also, but I was vocal. So you can't say this. If this will come to scenario will change, that will come to scenario will change. You bring the people from that strata in Waqf board and curb this corruption. And I just, Sumitji, I don't know why do you feel like that a Muslim will take the Hindus' right and do this. No, we are coexisting. We only believe in love. And this is a land of Sunni and Sun. You know, this is the largest democracy which is run by Baba Sahib Bhimrao Ambedkar's constitution. Nobody is above the law. We all are equal before the law. So it is not like that any Hindu-Muslim thing is there. All right, ma'am. And I'm saying I'm vocal that there is corruption, and I'm asking for CBI inquiry.
Absolutely. So there's corruption, ma'am. You're absolutely right. There's corruption. There's apathy towards the Muslims in this commune as well. Ahmed Ayaz, Mr. Ahmed Ayaz, I hope you can hear me. Mr. Ayaz,
yes, I do.
Your observations on the back and forth that has been going on between whether this bill is the right thing to do at this point in time, and whether all the arguments that you have heard against the way it's been implemented. Some of them were also put forth by Nikhil. How do you respond, sir?
First, am I audible to you?
You are, sir.
Am I audible? Okay, okay. See, Nikhil seems to have largely explained it well, but there seems to be some misconception, as I see with some of our friends, as to how this property has come about when they say that Waqf can claim tomorrow the Parliament House or that property or this property. That seems to be slightly confusing. So that's why a little explanation is required. Say that the Waqf property is basically donated by the Muslims, which we call in the name of Allah, and the Waqf boards manage it. Well, it's not today. It has been managed by the Waqf boards prior to the, even prior to the Britishers. Then thereafter, when it came to the, independence, and then some executives of some chief executives were added to it by the government, and then some were chairpersons are nominated by the government. So this came later, but this has originated right from before Britishers rather. So there is Muslims have been managing this whole of their own. And when it is a property donated by the Muslims in the name of Allah, being managed by the boards with proper documentation, it is not that board can claim anywhere. So why there is a misconception? And the property should have valid documents. One who donates the property will have his record, will have this documentation properly in his name, then only he can donate it. So nobody's land as it is can be donated, belonging to none. Neither a land belonging to someone can be claimed by the board. I don't know why there's a misconception. Now coming to the concept of this whole issue. To me, it looks to be politically motivated. Why? Because, you see, the two arguments coming forth is that one, that this mismanaged and there's corruption in Waqf boards. Yes, partly I can agree. There is a mismanagement, maybe corruption also. But the point is whether the corruption is only in the boards. I think we'll have to see the entire system. Had the entire system been free of corruption, possibly you won't see corruption anywhere. So that means the system is full of, there's a corruption in the system itself. There's a mismanagement in the system itself. That's why you find it there in the board. And then when we see that mismanagement, is this only there? Are there no other institutions where mismanagement is there? Then if we say that we'll nominate two non-Muslims, will they be in a position to see that this mismanagement is removed, the corruption is removed, when the government nominee is already there, government officials are already there, as chief executive officers who are right now in the boards, and thereafter as a in Jammu and Kashmir particularly, there is a chairperson of the MOS status name, nominated by the government looking after this.
Okay, sir.
So the point is, if it's a matter of mismanagement or the corruption, then what are these people doing? What are the officials doing? And then, presuming that there is something wrong which need to be improved in the interest of the common people, well, deserving people, it could be suggested, it could be told them, whoever are managing the bodies. So I'm sure that if there is something suggested to improve, rather than coming and then enacting a law, trying to control
but there must
it
have
and
been
to see
there
that
must have been suggestions over a period of time, Sabia Ahmed. What do you make that this is not something which is being done off the cuff? This is a cumulative response to the way the Waqf has functioned for decades now. This is not something which is assimilated over the last 10-11 years.
No, I don't say. Okay,
No, this is for Sabia, sir. This is for Sabia Ahmed, please. Sabia ji, are you there with us?
Yes, yes.
Please respond to my question, ma'am.
See, I am a Sunni Waqf board member of Uttar Pradesh. I have been continuously working on ground. So what I can tell exactly about is the groundwork. this gentleman just said there need to be some changes, there need to be some improvements. When you actually feel like bringing some improvements in a work property, you are required to have support of administration, support of police, support of district magistrate. So this is the utmost need. We can't simply deny it. That is the first thing. Second thing is, if this something like this government is thinking about Waqf amendment bill or something, I say it's a wonderful step, because finally at least somebody is taking this initiative, somebody is taking this step, somebody is moving ahead. And I believe no matter whichever government is there, say BJP or say Samajwadi or Congress, whichever, in year 27 or year 28, whenever, but this should go on. Because when you actually working, when you really want, because I am working continuously on ground, I want to bring some positive changes in the work properties. I want, as just gentleman said, there should be good revenue generation. We desperately try to bring those revenue, generate those revenues. We try to help those widows, women, and then divorcee women and everything through work properties. You need that support of Prashasan, you need support of police, you need support of law and TM. So this kind of a step is definitely needed. We are at present taking step, because one thing is also there, that here our intentions are joint, because even the Prashasan, they will be looking for a peaceful city. Similarly, we will be needing progress of our work properties. So it's a mutual benefit. It's a win-win situation for both of us. So I feel this step is a welcome step. Second thing is, when we talk about of a country, and when we say that this is the third largest landowners, that is the Waqf, or fourth largest landowners Waqf. So we can't simply deny this fact that Waqf is a important part of our country. Then I will also like to address our Muslim community. See, it's high time. We need to open up. If we will just think about ghettos, if we will just think of living in a ghettos, how can we prosper? How can we grow? How can we just develop ourselves? It is necessary to remove this ghettoization. We need to amalgamate. We need to cooperate with the whichever running government is there. We need to have this kind of progressive mentality. And please don't be so skeptical. Don't be so negative. Because
ma'am, do you welcome this amendment? Ma'am, do you welcome this amendment? Do you welcome this bill?
And I won't say welcome, because there are certain flaws. Like when you say ki there's a thing that Waqf by user, it will be totally Waqf by user. Waqf by user will be totally it will. See, they say ki entire documentation will be required. Please let me know this thing. How is it possible to bring those documents in practice? How is it possible to bring those documents in couple of days? Please give them some time. Give them 1 year, 2 year, 5 years space, some mohulat, some time, so that they can present those documents, and then those places could be proven.
All right.
No need to be hurry, because it's a very sensitive thing.
All right.
Don't say it's a flawless thing. There are certain flaws, definitely.
But it's a start, isn't it, Mr.
You said ki there should be women in Waqf board. Already we are 2 women in UP Sunni Central Waqf Board. We say that's a welcome step that in Central Waqf Council, CWC, there should be women. Wonderful. I to say that there should be women in Tawliyat also. There should be Mutawalli who will be women. So give some point or to those women, or give some initiative, some encouragement to those women also who want to be Mutawalli of different various properties.
All right, ma'am.
So
perhaps the idea why the government in fact wanted to include women was to make it a definite arrangement rather than something which is fluid in nature. Mr. Himanshu Bhatt, there are also people like Mr. Sasuddin Owaisi of the AIMIM who have gone on to say harsh words against this amendment. They've gone on to say that the sole purpose of this introduction, or rather the introduction of this bill, is to undermine, weaken the rights of Muslims and also undermine the power of the Waqf board. But the government goes on to say that the 1995 Act was weak. It had some shortcomings. There were title disputes which happened because of the way the properties were occupied, and as a result, the centre has introduced this new law. Do you think there is this hyperbolic reaction from the opposition at this point in time, which might fall flat on its face, because largely the Muslim community, even the Muslim community present on this show, Mr. Bhatt, has more or less supported this amendment?
More or less supported this amendment. More than that, let me remind you, it's the same harsh opposition which has said in the matter of UP, that out of 1,20,000 properties, only 20,000 have the legal documents. And here we have a view which very clearly said there should be valid documents. So what does it mean to? What does it lead to? This Waqf board is a historical wrong being attempted to be corrected. This amendment, I look at it that way. Because there were some gundas sitting there. Sorry to use the word. But then that is what the thing is. If you take it into context, what I said, out of 1,20,000 properties, only 20,000 have a legal document. That means 1 lakh doesn't have. Who said that? OAC said that. Nobody else. In such a situation, when a historical wrong of this Waqf board, and this ghettoism, as someone in our panel was referring to, wonderful things. You have to open it out. It's something like, this peacefuls, religion of peacefuls is supreme. That was the mentality for 75 years in this country for the majority people. And when that changes, there will be effects. And that effects will have to be ushered into the society for the society to progress. If you resist that, what will happen is you will be getting blown away. And this is what is happening. Opposition trying to oppose it is hitting themselves back. They will suffer the most. Because here, what we are seeing is, we are seeing the umpteen examples of a Muslim controlling Kumbh. That can be a reality. But when Yogi Ji says that you cannot do business, then there is a big hue and cry. See, I am not making it communal. I am trying to put in some sense into the societal look out of this.
Okay, all right.
Something like, in Tirupati, when there were Muslims there was no objections. But when you talk of this, because all these things do count. And that's why when I say, what amendment bill is a welcome step in the right direction. Yes, there might be some flaws. There might be some nitty-gritties which need to be sorted out.
All right. Let me bring in Sumit Peer as well. Sumit, the Waqf board has the authority here to determine whether a property is, for the Waqf or not. Section 40 of the Act says the same thing. And, it's up to the Waqf tribunal after that, Sumit Peer, to modify or basically revoke that decision. And if they don't do that, it will be final. This seems to be an oddity in law. And Sumit, also reflect upon, some of these extreme responses that have come about from the opposition, including something that I mentioned about Mr. Owaisi.
Okay, let's handle it one by one. Vineet, you're absolutely right. Section 40 was a departing gift by Congress as a tool of its Muslim appeasement. It was not there in the initial act. Then do you know there's one more act there? I don't remember the act. I'm not a lawyer by training. There's an act in which the Waqf board can direct. Let's say you have a plot of land and Waqf board believes it is mine. I can direct DM and the SPST to vacate that land. Tell me which other trust in India has this power? Does the Kashi Vishwanath Trust have this power? Does the Mata Vaishno Devi Trust have this power? Does the Tirumala Trust have this power? No, this is only with the Great Waqf Board. You can direct SP and DM to vacate that land. They don't need to have the papers. Second point, how many, not only 20% of the papers are with the Waqf Board, 80% of the properties don't have any papers with them. Koi kaagaz nahi hai. They just claim. If it is not about land dispute and land grab, how does Siddhi Vinayak become, or how does Waqf Board claim it to be their property? Mujhe ye batao yaar. How does Antilla become their property? How does this 1500-year-old temple in Tamil Nadu become their property? Kindly enlighten me this. If you are talking of non-Muslim members, let me answer you that. Farooq Abdullah Saha was on the board of Mata Vaishno Devi Trust, second biggest trust in the India and second revenue grosser trust in the India after Sri Tirupati Balaji. A lot of money from that trust was taken and given as a loan to the state government, which was not returned after Manoj Sinha ji started returning it. So don't tell me there was not a Muslim. So if a Muslim can be a part and control the second biggest Hindu trust of India, that is Mata Vaishno Devi Trust, how can you have objections on the other way around? And if Waqf Board has delivered the goods for the Muslim community in last 75 years, which we all agree it has not, then if we continue to do the same thing, how we expect a different result? Vineet, if you continue to do exactly what you did last year, and this year you expect to be different, how is it going to be different? When it has failed for 75 years, it will continue to fail for another 75 years. Vineet, and let me make you clear, I mean, Waqf board was all about Muslims. It has nothing to do with non-Muslims. And second thing, look, whatever you want to say and do, whatever we want to argue, and we might argue till the cows come home, the point here is that it is not about the corruption in the Waqf boards. It is about the sweeping powers they have. It is about the powers they have, about the Supreme Court of India, about the Constitution of India. That is where the powers are. And it is about, if Waqf board has these powers, name me one Hindu trust, one Hindu sansthan, one Hindu body, one Sikh, Jain, both. Kisi ka bhi naam le lo, Christian ka naam le lo. Name me one thing which has this power.
Okay, Nikhil, it seems like wants to respond to you.
The Supreme Court has no jurisdiction.
Nikhil wants to respond to you. I can see his hand go up. Nikhil, go on.
I've been waiting 25 minutes to correct on the legal inaccuracies here. This entire notion that the Waqf Tribunal's order is final, it's above the High Court, Supreme Court, is absolutely incorrect. It is not how it is. You can always, and people do, challenge orders of the Waqf Tribunal to the High Court in the writ jurisdiction of the High Court. People who don't believe me can look at the Delhi High Court's judges roster. You will see that Justice Tara Ganju is the one who looks after challenges from orders of the Waqf Tribunal. Waqf Tribunal is not above the High Court, let alone the Supreme Court. Their orders regularly get challenged. What Sumit P is saying, that the Waqf had the power to, or direct the DM to have a property that they believe is Waqf be vacated. That is not true. Section 54 of the Act requires the Waqf board to take permission from the tribunal after conducting an inquiry to pass any vacation orders. Waqf tribunals are courts. You can open the websites of any district court complex and you will find a Waqf tribunal, just like you would find an industrial claims dispute tribunal or a rent controller tribunal. These are courts, these are state government institutions, these are not Muslim institutions. Appointments are made by the state governments. There isn't a single state board. And also, so far as the legal ownership documents of properties are concerned, you ask any lawyer or person who deals with land, they will tell you that anything that has existed before 1900s, you will never find ownership records of that, for the simple reason that the sovereignty has kept on transferring. You might find mention of it in revenue records, but revenue record mutations are not proof of ownership. Ownership documents are usually unavailable for properties that have existed since before 1857, and in most cases not even for properties that have existed since pre-independence. If I ask the government of India to produce the ownership record of the Red Fort, they will not be able to do that because there would not be any document for that. If I ask the Jain community to provide the ownership record of the Jain Mandir, one of the most sacred places that we have, they will not be able to do that. It is assumed that the Jain Mandir is of the Jains. It is assumed that the Red Fort is of the sovereign of the country. It is assumed that the Jama Masjid is of the Muslim community. You cannot produce ownership records. Even in the Ram Mandir dispute, the Supreme Court gave the land to the Hindu side, but the Hindu side was never able to documentarily prove it because they can't. That is how the nature of land records is. You have to understand that you can't just make such a mockery of legal principles. The Waqf Tribunal is not above the courts of the land. It certainly is not. It never was, so far as women members in Waqf boards is concerned. Why the 2013 Waqf amendment that was brought in by the UPA government at the time, every state Waqf board is required to have at least 2 women members. That is not something that the BJP is bringing in new. And the BJP is talking how this amendment is going to help the Pasmandiyas, the Ahmadiyas and the Aga Khanis and this and that. There is nothing that provides representation or reservation or some sort of affirmative action to these communities. All that this new act provides is that the government can essentially take land. And the last thing, Waqf by user. People have a problem with this concept that if something has been used as a Waqf property for a long time, then how can it be with the Waqf? That is simply the concept of the law of adverse possession. If you have a private property, you claim to have ownership over a private property, and I've been using it for more than 12 years, I'm deemed the owner of the property by adverse possession. If that property belongs to the government and I've been using it for more than 30 years, that property becomes mine by adverse possession. Of course, there is a difference between the absolute ownership title and ownership title by adverse possession. But that's a simple legal principle. Waqf by user is essentially that.
Wow.
You guys really need to understand the law.
All right, okay. But Nikhil, this is something which was brought into the parliament by the Home Minister as well. You know, that there have been irregularities when it comes to title possession by the Waqf.
What are you talking here? What are you talking? 30 साल जमीन पे कब्जा.
Open the law. That is what advanced possession is.
No claim of anybody.
Advanced possession is that.
Arey, you guys have been doing this for
Government
more than
cannot
20
across the world look at
Seven
it.
people have done this.
कोर्ट को कागज चाहिए.
Now you don't need this.
ईमान करे गवर्नमेंट does not need
we
paper.
need-
Okay, one second, Nikhil, you've made your point. Nikhil, hold on. You've made your point, Nikhil. Let Mr. Bhatt and Sumit respond to you. Okay, we're not going to have a screaming competition over here. Mr. Bhatt, Sumit Peer, calm down. Sumit, I'm going to give the floor to you. Speak now. Sumit, speak now. Sumit, go on.
This is the way they have been doing this. This is the way from last 75 years.
Advanced possession is not for Waqf only. Advanced possession is
The
general
court of
principle in law.
law. You know, using section 13A, 14A, and trying to confuse the masses. This is what national TV is about. Do you think everybody in this country is an idiot? Do you think everybody is a fool? Do you think the government of days is buffoons? They are trying to bring these amendments when they are not required. You are trying
No,
to.
they're communal.
Nothing is required. सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा. सब कुछ.
Go and read the law.
Okay, let me get Mr. Mehta into this conversation. One second. Let me bring in Mr. Mehta into this conversation. Nikhil, you said something that this law is being introduced because the government is communal. Mr. Mehta, how do you respond to that?
Mentioning about it, that after 30 years, anybody can have the property on. Because yesterday, or a few years back, somebody from my family got this land and say, okay, this is our property. These kind of very irregularities there, and then it's personal land. Millions and millions of people, they believe that it should be for the people, for the society. But here they say it's the property of the Waqf board, and they are not using it. They are just misusing it. That's why the objection about it, because it's the property of the Waqf board and the government can't do it anything. Administration can't do anything. These kinds of anybody in the world, you will not sign such rules. I think this is the ridiculous, and that's why this amendment bill was very important, and it's a very right decision. That's why I respect our from UP Sunni board. So she very openly said, because one can ask about the corruption also. There is so much corruption in this Waqf board. So now one can go to the court. Okay, there was a corruption, ask for inquiry. Otherwise, what you will do? Because then if you ask the CBI, BJP government is doing this. But the court says, okay, inquire about it. Who belongs to this land? And say, okay, because of the 30 years, we don't have the record. 1 lakh properties, you say no record. And only 20,000 properties you have record. These kind of irregularities, I think nobody can find about, either Jain or Hindu or Buddha or Sikh. And it's not about the temples, it's not about the mosque, it's not about the dargah. This is about the properties they are owning, the Waqf board, and they are not utilizing for the poor people. This amendment is talking about those issues.
Okay,
not
Nikhil,
about the Bande
Nikhil, I want to bring you in again here. You said that the government is doing this because it's communal. Do you think that the triple talaq was also done under this same sentiment, which the Muslim community did welcome?
See, Vineet, that comment of mine was in reflection to what Mr. Peer was saying, that do you think the government is buffoons to bring a law like that? I said that is not the only reason why you bring a law. And certainly this government's intent to polarize by means of law and legislation is very clear. So far as the triple talaq case is concerned, the Supreme Court in 2017 by its judgment had very clearly made triple talaq redundant. They had said that triple talaq is not a valid form of law. Not a validly form of accepted divorce. So if I'm a Muslim and I go to my wife and say talaq, 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 10 years ago, she may have been divorced, but after that Supreme Court judgment, that's not a divorce. That's just me uttering nonsense. What this government did was that they said this triple talaq concept would go away. Very good. But the court had already done that. They further said that we are going to put a person in jail for 3 years for doing that. Now, please tell me, if I tell my wife talaq, 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 it is not even divorce. What are you putting me in jail for? The court had already made it redundant. It is not divorce. And secondly, divorce, custody and all these things are considered civil wrongs. You do not put people in jail for civil wrongs. So if a Hindu abandons his wife, if a Hindu does not live with his wife for 72 years, that's very bad, right? But do you send him to jail for that? No, you don't. You cannot imprison people for civil wrongs, but that is what the government did. See, triple talaq is a horrible, abhorrent practice, should have been removed long ago. The Supreme Court did. What this government did was just communalize.
Okay, all right. Mr. Bhatt wanted to say something. Come in, please.
It's something like this, ulta chor kutwal ko dande. Communalizing has been perpetually done, right from 1947 onwards till today by this, Congress party. And now they want to talk of communal. They are accusing BJP of communalizing. But then they forget that one thing. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And this is the reaction of a society, Bharatiya society. You have been talking of India and Hindustan. Now people are talking of Bharat. And why people are talking of Bharat? Because there is a definite reaction to your actions. And that is why this is happening, Vinod. That's what I want to say.
All right, Sumit, quickly, please.
The common civil code.
I wanted
I think this is basically asking about
Sumit,
the
quickly.
common
We'll
civil
take
code.
reactions from other panelists as well. Sumit, quickly.
I want to say a few things. First of all, when you're talking of all these things, tell me something. What is wrong in getting a historical wrong right? Or should we let to continue like this? Should we do this? If a Places of Worship Act has a 70-year ceiling or a 60-year ceiling, does Waqf Act have any ceiling? So you are saying in 1957, I as Government of India need to prove this land is mine. मेरे को इसको कागज दिखाने पड़ेंगे. But the Waqf Board can come and put a finger. ये जमीन मेरी, ये बात खत्म.
No, they can't do that.
By that virtue, 200 years back we were ruled by Mughals. That but the whole of India is their land and we are the kiradars in our own land. Let's pay kiraya or jizya. So next time you are going to tell me my makan belongs to Waqf Board, I am to pay a kiraya. How did Siddhi Vinayak became a claimant or a claimed property of Waqf Board? मुझे इसका logic बता. How did the 15-year-old temple become? How did Mukesh Ambani's antenna became? And let me remind you about OAC ji you mentioned, Vineet. क्या OAC जी के भाई ने नहीं बोला था 15 मिनट पुलिस हटा दो? These are the same people जिन्होंने बोला 15 मिनट पुलिस हटा दो, दिखा देंगे हिंदुओं को. Is it or not on record or not? This is the mentality where the problem is. 15 मिनट पुलिस हटा दो, दिखा देंगे हिंदुओं को, दिखा देंगे तुम्हारा क्या करना है.
Sabia Ahmed, Sabia ji, you want to respond to what Sumit is saying, Sabia ji? Sabia ji,
Hindus paid jizya for a few hundred years. Is it wrong?
Okay, Sabia ji, would you like to respond? Sabia ji, would you like to respond? You've been patiently hearing.
I won't get into this debate. Simple thing is, what I'm going to say now is not for the panelists sitting over here, neither for the news channel. What I like to address or give my message, that is for the hundreds and thousands and lakhs of people who are watching your TV channel right now. I will like to say that Muslim people who are there, who are listening to it, kindly don't get provoked, kindly don't be nervous. Have firm belief whatever is going to happen is going to happen good for the community, because जो actual purpose है वक़्फ़ का वो भी यही है कि ये चीज़ अल्लाह के नाम है और इसकी जो भी भला हो वो गरीबों का, यतीमों का, बेवाओं का, इन लोगों के लिए भला हो. और तो जब ये चीज़ें सही चैनलाइज होंगी, सही वर्क होंगी, तो सही माने में लोगों का भला होगा. आप 100 चीज़ों पर लड़ते रहिए और 4 चीज़ों से फायदा ना उठा पाइए तो ये आपकी अपनी बेवकूफ़ी है. समझदारी ये है कि आज फाइनली किसी गवर्नमेंट ने इतना बोल्ड स्टेप लिया है. इस स्टेप को वेलकम कीजिए. आप भारत में रह रहे हैं, आप हिंदुस्तान में रह रहे हैं, आप गेटोइजेशन से वर्क नहीं कर सकते. आप ये कहें कि हम इस मस्जिद के, हम इसके मालिक हैं, यही रहेंगे. जब आप कदम बाहर रखते हैं तो आप सड़क पे कदम रखते हैं. सड़क किसकी बनी हुई है? सरकार की बनी हुई है. आप ट्रैफिक लाइट देखते हैं तो वो सरकार की है. पुलिस वाला खड़ा है वो सरकार का है. ट्रैफिक पुलिस वाला सरकार का है. तो क्या यानी आप बिल्कुल यहाँ पे अलग हो गए? उस जगह आप बादशाह थे, यहाँ आके आप रंग हो गए? ऐसा नहीं होता है. देखिए, म्यूचुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग और तक से ही काम हो पाता है. जैसे मैंने पहले भी कहा कि ग्राउंड पे जब मैं वक्फ पे काम करती हूँ और देखती हूँ कहीं भी कुछ सुधार लाना हो, 5% भी सुधार लाना हो तो प्रशासन की हेल्प की जरूरत पड़ती है. पुलिस की, प्रशासन की, डीएम की, एसडीएम की, माइनॉरिटी विभाग की, इनके बिना एक कागज आगे नहीं बढ़ पाता है. जो अच्छा मुतवल्ली बना है, वो कुछ अच्छाई करना चाह रहा है वहां पे, वो नहीं कर सकता जब तक इनका सपोर्ट ना हो. तो सही माने में जब आप ग्राउंड पे उतरेंगे और काम करना चाहेंगे तो इन बड़ी बड़ी लफाजी में कुछ नहीं रखा है, इन बड़े बड़े लफ्जों में कुछ नहीं रखा है. तब जमीन पे उतर के काम करना पड़ता है कि हाँ, ये छोटी सी जमीन है, यहाँ हमने यतीम खाना बना दिया. जो बच्चे सड़क पे भटक रहे थे, जो बच्चियां प्रोस्टिट्यूशन में जा रही थी, आज वो वहां जाके ना उस एक यतीम खाने में रहेंगी. छोटा सा एक काम है, लेकिन एक पहाड़ है ये काम करना. ये काम करा पाना एक पहाड़ के बराबर है. यकीन मानिए जब हम प्रशासन का सपोर्ट लेते हैं तभी हम ये सब काम करा पाते हैं। वक्फ का पर्पस भी यही है। आज से कई साल पहले जब ये किया गया था तब भी यही पर्पस था कि इससे जो भी आमदनी हो, 4 खजूर की भी आमदनी हो, तो वो गरीबों की बेहतरी के लिए हो। बेहतरी कहाँ हो रही है मेरे भाई? गरीबों की बेहतरी हो ये कोशिश कीजिए। आज वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी किसको नहीं मालूम था? क्या हम लोग नहीं सुनते आ रहे हैं बचपन से, फला जगह वक्फ, ये वक्फ, ये वक्फ, लेकिन कितनों का भला हुआ है? फिंगर टिप्स में गिन लीजिए कितनों का भला हुआ है। अगर आज सही सुचारू रूप से कोई चीज चले, मैं कह रही हूँ 100 ना हो के 80 चीज चले, लेकिन चले तो सही तरीके से, सही लोगों तक उसका फायदा पहुंचे, वो गरीबों को, बेवाओं को, जो तलाकशुदा औरतें हैं उनको फायदा पहुंचे, जो यतीम बच्चे हो गए हैं जो सड़कों पे भटक रहे हैं उनको फायदा पहुंचे, जो कि मुस्तहक है, जो कि सही माने में इस वक्फ के हकदार हैं। और वन थिंग और, मैं एक चीज और कहूंगी सुमित कि मतलब क्या नाम है, मैं ये कहूंगी कि देखिए हम वक्फ बोर्ड मेंबर हैं या हम मुस्लिम स्कॉलर हैं या हम वक्फ बोर्ड चेयरमैन हैं या हम कुछ भी हैं, हम सिर्फ केयर टेकर्स हैं। हमारा जो फर्ज बनता है वो केयर टेकिंग का है। और अगर हम कोई वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी की केयर टेकिंग सही नहीं कर पा रहे तो वी आर अ बिग फेलियर। ये फैक्ट एक्सेप्ट करें। हमारा काम सिर्फ केयर टेकिंग का है। केयर टेकिंग हमें सही से करनी है और वो काम, यही पर्पस है वक्फ का, यही मकसद है वक्फ का। आज पार्लियामेंट में भी गैर मुस्लिम चिल्ला चिल्ला के ये बात कह रहे हैं। तो खुदा के वास्ते जो हमारे मुसलमान भाई हैं, जो मेरी बहनें हैं, जो ये टीवी चैनल देख रही हैं, वो किसी पैनल ने ये कह दिया वो कह दिया दिल पे ना लें। एक बड़ी सोच रखें, एक ध्यान दें कि हाँ एक अच्छी चीज होने वाली है।
चलिए आपने बिल्कुल सही बात कही, आपने बिल्कुल सही बात कही। निखिल, how would you respond to this very simple concept of a badi soch, the larger picture, and not indulge in petty politics of who's communal and who's not?
Puneet, Vineet, I exactly just want to indulge in that thinking that let's, move forward and do good things for the people of the country. Let's not try to make it into 500 साल पुराना मंदिर पे वक्त ने क्लेम डाल दिया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. The reason I have to use words like communal, and trust me, I do not like to use these words. I do not like to engage in these conversations. The reason I have to do that is because the entire discussion, you look at your own debate, you've carried out a very fair debate, you've given everybody a time to speak, but of the 1 hour debate, I think more than 35 minutes have been spent talking about हिंदुओं को ये नहीं हुआ, हिंदुओं को वो हुआ, उस पे ये कब्जा मार लिया, इस पे ये कब्जा मार लिया, instead of talking about the legal nuances of it, instead of talking about the way forward. That is why this conversation of something being communal or not communal comes into play. See, we could have had a very fruitful discussion, the public discourse, not this debate, particularly, we could have had a very fruitful public discourse wherein we could have said that yes, there is a lot of corruption in the Waqf board. Yes, there are people who are encroaching properties of the Waqf. At the same time, there are people using the Waqf mechanism to encroach properties of others and get benefit out of them individually, not for the Waqf or not for the Muslims. We could have made all of that. We could have talked about all of that. But what is being happened? अरे किसी गांव पे वक्त ने अपना claim डाल दिया. Does anybody follow up with that? Whether the claim like that was actually made, whether the courts upheld it, whether it went to the High Court, nobody is following up with that. Nobody is looking at the fact that in this country we did have zamindari once, right? 100 years ago, if I am a zamindar, I own the land of the entire village. If I have written it to Waqf, the Waqf can still rise up and claim. Now it is for the courts to decide whether such a claim or whether such a title transfer is to hold valid in today's time after the abolition of zamindari. These are legal questions, but instead of talking about these things, we are just talking about अरे वक्त से प्रॉपर्टी का कब्जा हो जाता है, वक्त पे इतनी सारी प्रॉपर्टी है, तीसरा सबसे बड़ा लैंड ओनर है, जबकि वक्त तो कोई एक चीज है भी नहीं, हर एक स्टेट का अपना अलग वक्त होता है. The reason I have to talk about these things is because that is the entire narrative that the BJP ecosystem creates. They are not looking at the narrative.
We are not talking here of BJP or Congress. We were not talking of BJP or Congress. You brought it out on communal basis here. You made this communal. You said Hindus are talking this, Hindus are... Isn't
I
this
never
a
used
country
the
of
word
80?
Hindu.
Isn't this a country
Mr.
of...
Bhatt, that is your problem. That is your problem.
Okay, Nikhil, one second, Nikhil.
We are not...
Nikhil, one second. Let Mr. Bhatt come in. Let him respond. Mr. Bhatt, go on.
Use the word Hindu. I never used the word Hindu.
All right, fair enough, Nikhil. Let him respond. Mr. Bhatt, go on.
Communal about this.
What communal? He started all this communal stuff.
Okay, all right. Sumit Peer, it's important to understand that we don't get stuck on just semantics of what has been said here. Sabiha ji made a very important point. She is from that community, that there is a lot to learn over here. Perhaps brownie points also have to be given to the government, that they are thinking in avenues and towards trajectories that are meant for upliftment of our minorities.
Vineet, if you look at, honestly, swear to God, if you look at Modi government, what it has done for Muslims in 11 years, Congress ne to bas, they have dangled the carrot, they have not literally nothing. If you say the real development of Muslim community, if you talk of Ujwala, Prajwala, Mudra loan, you talk of anything where there has been no discrimination, that is only under Prime Minister Modi. Where the maximum scholarships have been given under Prime Minister Modi. So Prime Minister Modi is the only Prime Minister who has really talked about uplifting of the Muslim community. Let it be triple talaq, let it be amendments in the Waqf board, let it be so many things. He has done a lot of things where he has not discriminated anything. You have to give the credit to the government. But the problem is when everything BJP does is seen in a communal lens, is seen as something there. Look, at the same time, I am saying Hindus and Muslims, let it be equal. The fundamental thing is that you cannot be like this or I cannot be like this. We have to be like this. So if there is something up, you have to come down. If I am up, I will come down. That is a very simple thing. Why such sweeping powers are with this tribunal, which are with no other body in the Republic of India? That is a simple question. And if it's a simple question, we as Hindus, we as Bhartis, we as Sanatanis, we as citizens of Bharat, every citizen, 1.4 billion, have a right to question this, because where does my fundamental law go? Because I was told my law is equal to anybody else's law, my rights are equal to anybody else's law. How can that privilege become a specialty of somebody? Why are my rights being trampled? Why are I'm not treated at par with somebody? Vineet, I want to state this again, because there are some things which are very close to our heart and mind. Look, why on this earth do we need to have a claim on Siddhi Vinayak temple? Mujhe ye bata do. Doesn't anybody see what is there? Doesn't anybody know what is there? So why you are pushing the things to the extreme, wherein people will start questioning the concept conceptually. It is only after Congress got those 2 amendments after their departing gift as a part of the appeasement, the things became out of control. Look at the Waqf board before that and look at the Waqf board after that. That is where the thing changed. And yes, some people misuse the power. Yes, some people do things, and they were not trying to use it for this. Nikhil ji, ye na aap Supreme Court mein dikha dena. When it goes to the Supreme Court, you be the law of the India, you be the lawyer of the India. Show them there. The honorable justices will see these 34A, 26A, and 28B. The people who watch this, they don't understand 26A, 26B and all. That is for the honorable justices of India who have the experts of law. We are talking on the things which is the perception of the masses, and masses are not carried over by 13A and 16B. This is what the masses think we need. And let me tell you, sir, we as Hindus have equal rights in this country. I'm not talking about superior right. I'm not talking of inferior right. I'm at least talking of equal right, and that equal right has to be given to us. If something has been done historically wrong, we expect Prime Minister Modi, he has the mandate to do it historically right. Don't favor Hindus, but don't put the Hindu interests under the bus. That is what I want to say.
Okay, Nikhil, you were actually showing something. I could not notice from here what exactly it was.
Yes, it's a 20th November 2024 article from NDTV where it is a fact check. No, Waqf board hasn't staked claim to Mumbai Siddhi Vinayak temple. Both the temple authorities and Maharashtra Waqf board have confirmed that no such claim has been made on Sri Siddhi Vinayak temple. Now, if the Waqf board, if the temple, if the government, if NDTV...
Nikhil, just hold on to that thought. No, hold on to that thought. In fact, at this point in time, Mr. Nalin Kohli, BJP national spokesperson, is also joining us. Mr. Kohli, appreciate you joining us. How would the Waqf Amendment Bill, according to you, affect the life of a common Muslim in India? That's exactly what we were discussing as well. Mr. Kohli?
Essentially, the Waqf Bill recognizes that what is the land of the Muslims and that can be used for pious reasons, that is going to be protected under the law. What it will do also is bring additionally the use of technology, because all lands will get registered and will be known. So there would be clarity which are the Waqf lands. More importantly, it brings the participation of Muslim women formally into the Waqf boards and the process. And lastly, the misuse of some provisions of the 2013 bill, whereas the land of other religions or people who are non-Muslims, that cannot be targeted. We have seen cases like a temple land getting claimed as a Waqf land. We have seen cases in Karnataka where quite a large number of square kilometers was claimed as Waqf land, and farmers and others got agitated. We are seeing that happening in Kerala with lands belonging to Christian families, with lands belonging to Hindu families. Now, after all, these people all have their own rights from other religions. It cannot mean that in the name of Waqf, it can become a process by which the lands that are not of the Waqf will be taken over by those unscrupulous elements. So I think the Waqf Bill protects the interests of the Muslims. It does not change their interests or causes any risk to their mosques or other things. But it also protects the lands of others which cannot be incorrectly claimed by some unscrupulous members in, say, Waqf boards.
Mr. Kohli, from what we have heard from today's debate, the primary contention points for the opposition are inclusion of non-Muslims and the practicing Islam rule. How would you respond to that?
Well, the political parties are trying to build a political narrative against the BJP and its allies for bringing this bill. But they have no answers with regard to misuse and abuse of the Waqf provisions of the 2013 bill. Why is it that the Karnataka government in the first place found itself so helpless when the Waqf tried to claim, and that's the Congress government in Karnataka, the land of the farmers? When the BJP protested it, when the farmers started coming out on the street, then suddenly the government there immediately went into overdrive, the Congress government, to say, no, this is not correct, don't put effect to these notices. Same is the case of Kerala. So the other communities are pointing out the misuse. So in effect, what the Congress party and other political parties who are opposed to the BJP are trying to create a false narrative without addressing the concerns that exist in the Waqf law as it was from the 2013 amendments.
Mr. Kohli, what were some of these draconian clauses that the UPA brought in 2013 or that existed in the Waqf Bill which have been done away with?
So there are two specific things that come to mind, three rather. One is the fact that there's no use of technology, there's no records, there's no factor of the Limitation Act. I mean, after all, there has to be a line under which you can claim this is the Waqf properties. You can't say lands you have not claimed for, say, 70 years. Suddenly you will stand up and say this is a land belonging to the Waqf without any basis. Women from the Muslim community are excluded. Why are they excluded? Are they not part of the community? Should they not have a say? Number three, the land could be donated by any person. This is what was the point that was raised in the 2013. Who's any person? So it raises a valid question. Can a Hindu donate his land for a Muslim pious reason? Or then the next question comes, or a Christian or any other person from another community? After all, the Waqf land was meant for Muslims donating their land for for pious reasons to the larger benefit of their community. So any person becomes a practicing Muslim in that effect, someone who is a practicing Muslim for at least 5 years. Then this section 40, which existed in the old act or the 2013 act, essentially says that they can claim without any process the land of anyone and the court's jurisdiction will be ousted. How is that possible? So these were some of the major contradictions and problems with the old act.
Mr. Kohli, do you expect the process of registration and regulation then leading to people who have possibly committed corruption to come out in the open? And can you explain how that might manifest?
100% that would happen. Because after all, if there's no record, or if anyone is suddenly trying to usurp another community or another person's land in the name of the Waqf board, that will stand exposed. And the new bill will make that completely transparent, because using technology, these will all be, the records will be updated. Once the records are updated, a finite period is given for the updation of records. Nobody can turn up and say after 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, no, this land also belonged to us without any basis.
Mr. Kohli, the AIM-PLB says that this violates the fundamental right to religious freedom. How would you respond to this?
No, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board is a private society. I mean, after all, it is registered under the Societies Act. They make very tall claims saying they are representing the entire Muslim community. So let me pick two examples. Let me take one specific example, which is the Shaira Bainu case of triple talaq. They opposed it, but that was by a Muslim lady, not by the BJP. So ultimately, the Supreme Court held it. So the All India Muslim Personal Law Board tends to project itself as if it speaks for all Muslims. But there are several Muslims who have come out in favor of the amendments of the Waqf Bill. That's point number one. Point number two, where in the Constitution it is written that the rights of the Muslim community or any minority would mean that others will have no rights. It can't be that. Can there be any logic to claiming temple lands by the Waqf? Can there be any logic to claiming the lands of the parliament? I mean, anybody just says, this is my land. Can there be no due process of law? What is of the Muslim community, their mosques, their qabristans, Muslims who own their lands and give it to the Waqf, that all will be protected. And that's exactly what the Waqf is for. But it can't be a tool for harassing somebody else. And it certainly can't be a tool that it denies the constitutional rights of another citizen.
Mr. Kohli, with Triple Talaq, Article 370 and now the Waqf Amendment Bill, do you think that the BJP government has brought about inclusion and equality that has helped the Muslim community in India?
So let's start with Article 370. A separate identity objective led to separatism, led to terrorism, led to shattering of peace, led to a whole community moving out there, and the economy had gone to for a 6. Today, you've had elections in Jammu Kashmir without a bullet being fired. An elected government, it is not the BJP, it's Mr. Omar Abdullah's government. That government the people have chosen with a 65% voting. It speaks for itself. And Article 370 was preventing the people of Jammu and Kashmir from getting the benefits and fruits of faster development, the fruits of a better economic system, and being able to come out with their own vote in how they wanted to do it. That's point number one. Number two, the Waqf Bill. The Waqf Bill is only to ensure that others are protected, and the reasons for which the Waqf properties should be used as per due process, it should be done. It removes the draconian and rather the not correctly thought out provisions of the 2013 Act.
Mr. Nalan Kohli, appreciate you joining us. Well, we've run out of time. Nikhil, Sumit Peer, Mr. Bhatt, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. We take a short break now. Be right back.